Welcome to the SportsBros Podcast, featuring the almighty B-Live, the money man Scotty D, and your host, the head of creative Eddie Cool. The SportsBros Podcast, by the fan, for the fan, talking sports just the way you like it. And without any further ado, let's give it up for the SportsBros. We talking sports. It's cold. And yes. Tuesday. It's another cold and wonderful Tuesday. You know what that means. It's time once again for your favorite sports podcast, none other than the SportsBros Podcast. I go by the name of the HOC up in this thing, Eddie Cool. And as I mentioned before, up in Cleveland, Ohio, fellas, it is single digits. What in the world is going on? You know, I haven't seen I haven't seen single digits since I lived in New Hampshire. And at the time, those many years ago, it was like negative 36 degrees. But hopefully, this negative 5 degrees will be a little bit warmer, if that makes sense. But
it's actually supposed to get colder as the week goes on. It's supposed to dip even further down before coming back up at the end of the week.
Oh, man. I don't know how I feel about this. Well, time to go find your warm body or a cuddle buddy. With that being said, not only do I have one, but I have two of the best co-hosts in the world because it's not that fun doing it by myself. Introducing first down there in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And I'm pretty sure it's a whole heck of a lot warmer than it is there than it is here. He is the almighty B-Live.
What's happening? What's going on in the world today? Let's start off first by saying this much. It's proportional. Where you have single digits in Cleveland, it is the same amount of cold to me here in North Carolina because we ain't used to that. Y'all been up there for a good minute, so y'all might be a little bit more used to the cold weather.
No, there's no such thing as getting used to 5 degrees. There's no such thing.
I'm just saying, like, if you live around 20-degree weather long enough, dipping down to 5 is just like living around 40-degree weather and dipping down to 20.
No.
It don't feel good to anybody involved. If you give me single digits down here, I'm going to lose about 3 toes. I just can't do it. Y'all got the clothing. Yeah, y'all have more clothes to bundle up. Y'all got more things up north to handle this type of weather. We do not. We may have one snowplow in the entire state of North Carolina. So that's why everything gets canceled when there's a little teensy bit of snow that hits the ground. And they're forecasting snow, I believe, Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. And I'm gonna go get my milk sandwiches tomorrow, and I'll be good. This has nothing to do with sports, or it does, because we had the snow game between the Eagles and the Rams that Scotty D hated and I enjoyed. But let him tell it. I'll go ahead and introduce the other guy. Yes, sir.
The other guy. He is the pride of Washington, Pennsylvania. I'm pretty sure he's cold and frigid, just like I am over here in Cleveland. He is the one, the only, the money man, Scotty D.
All right now, baby, it's all right now. Yeah, it's cold and I'm tired of snow on TV outside of my house. I got up first thing this morning and I'm digging my car out and I'm shoveling and I didn't know this didn't discover today, but I have a hole in my glove. So I had a really, really sore cold finger. I had to go into the blue tent, then come out later and then shovel again at my family's church. I'm sick of it. I'm over it. I'm ready to move on. You can't hit a sand wedge out of a snow trap. There's no such thing. So I've had enough. I've had enough of this.
You're not participating in the golf league with Tiger Woods in them? Not doing the indoor Top Golf.
I watched the first night of that for about 15 minutes. Actually, probably not even that long. It didn't interest me. I couldn't do it. I thought it was cool. I wanted to see what it was about. And they hit the ball into the big giant screen, and then the ball drops, and then they like put a different picture up, and they're like chipping, and then they actually had like a real green to chip from and like fake grass around it. It just didn't do it for me. It didn't do it for me, and I'm quite certain it's not going to do it for many. That league is going to fold. It's going to fold like every fake football professional league and the upcoming second women's professional basketball league that's in the works too. Why do we always have to have more pro? It never works. Anyway, there's too much football stuff to talk about than this nonsense. Eddie Cole, get us on track. Something happened before we want to talk before playoffs. Eddie Cole, get us on the track. Get us on the track here.
I'm trying to Amtrak this thing before B-Live finds the other North Carolina salt truck and Scotty D loses his mind. See, that's what the cold do to you, B-Live. After a while.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like Scotty D.
Yeah.
Breaking news, courtesy of Bleacher Report, the Chicago Bears have found their man, and from the looks of it, Ben Johnson is going to be the next head coach, the Grand Poobah, will in Chicago. Uh-oh. Well, let's see. Who should I go with? Okay, Scotty D, since you're very vocal right now, how do you feel about the Bears hiring of Ben Johnson?
I don't care because he didn't go to the Cowboys, and he was on the top of my wish list. B-Live, I know you have some thought. I got more on this stuff later, but go ahead, B-Live. Go ahead. You're chomping at the bit here to say why you think this is a good move for Ben Johnson.
I think it's an outstanding move for Ben Johnson because I think the Bears, despite of how terrible they were, a lot of their terribleness was because of their coach. Eberflus was god-awful to this team. The decision-making, time clock management, horrible decisions. He was borderline Urban Meyer terrible, especially when it comes to developing new talent. Here's the thing. I don't care for Caleb Williams at all. At all. I don't think I don't think it's warranted. But if there's going to be anybody that's going to take an offense and turn it into something, especially with the weapons that Caleb Williams has, this Ben Johnson is the guy to do it. I mean, we saw the magic that he did in Detroit, and it was magical. I know Scotty D did the last game that they made that Jameson Williams pass, being down 10. That may not have been the best choice to do, but I mean, they really didn't quite go far off the script when it comes to the kind of things that Detroit does. It was a shootout. They were trying to come up with something, a spark, and it just went the wrong direction. Maybe he should have just stayed true to what they know to do, but Jared Goff didn't have the best game of his career. I mean, Detroit could not stop a nosebleed. Are
we leaking into the NFC playoff?
Is that what we're doing?
Then. Are we going there?
I went too far, didn't I?
Yeah, B-Live, he just went ahead and dove right into it. I swear he did.
I really did do that. I was sort of trying to say what Ben Johnson, and then I sort of made the anti-argument that Scotty D likes to do whenever I make a point. He is my antithesis. Did I say that right? No, I'm thick tongue.
I don't know. So you think, bottom line, you think it's a good move for the Bears?
I think it's a good move for the Bears.
Okay. Good move for him.
They need an offensive-minded coach in Chicago. Ben Johnson is the premier offensive coach in the league right now. Great move for him. I know it's in the division, but business is business. A job is a job. Chicago, they will get better. Will they be world beaters next year? Because I still don't believe in Caleb Williams, but Ben Johnson is the man for the job. Yes, sir.
All right, and with that being said, let's go ahead and hop right into it. The top of the order. All right, let's get this thing started. Here it is, the top of the order. NFL Divisional Round was this weekend, and we had matchups that features in the American Football Conference. The Houston Texans on the road at the Kansas City Chiefs. The Washington Commanders on the road against the Detroit Lions. The Rams play the Eagles a visit in snowy Philadelphia, and the Bills host the Ravens in snowy Buffalo as well too. As I mentioned, a few of these games here had implications of the weather variety. So with that being said, fellas, what do we think about these games from this past weekend? Divisional rounds. What you got?
All right, let me. I'll sum up the
Yeah.
the overall thing. Then we'll start when we'll backtrack and go through each game starting on Saturday. But the theme of this weekend was turnovers. Turnovers mattered really in 3 out of the 4 games. That was the deciding factor. And also, you see, the further along, just as the college playoffs were, the further along we got in the NFL, the games got better also. Because the game that we thought might be the cakewalk was the Chiefs, was the obvious heavy favorite over the Texans. And that game was 13-12 going into the fourth quarter. And I've heard all the chatter. The officials, what they want Kansas City in there. They want the Chiefs. The Chiefs get all the calls. Mahomes gets all the calls. Well, you know what? They got 2 pretty darn favorable calls on those roughing the passers. Those were key calls. They were definitely in Kansas City's favor. But I'm not going to say that's the reason they won, considering the special teams were atrocious for Houston, allowing that opening kickoff, in which I forget the player's name, was so happy that he caused a fumble that his team didn't recover, that he threw his helmet off and then threw his coach down. That guy should have not even been allowed back on the field at that point. He should have been sent straight to the locker room, and you have to clean out your locker before we even get back here. You got to be gone. But yeah, also, if you're Houston, you had an atrocious day of special teams. Your kicker missed an extra point, had a field goal blocked, or extra point blocked, I think it was, and missed a field goal. It was a 55-yarder, but it's playoffs. You got to make that. You got to make that in against Kansas City. They gave up 8 sacks. When your quarterback's getting sacked 8 times, that's going to be a problem. I thought in the fourth quarter, down 8 points, they made an atrocious decision to go for it on 4th and 10 on their own. You're only down 8. That's one possession. You're only down 8, and you went for it when the score was 20-12. Didn't get it, and then give up an easy field goal attempt for Kansas City. They tacked on more points. So if you're going to tell me the Chiefs were given this game by the officials, I'm not going along with that. I'm sorry, B-Live.
Here's the thing. I'm not making that argument either. Like,
no, I'm not implying. I was just giving it to you.
Yeah.
I wasn't implying that you were.
Yeah, that roughing the passer call. Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the big thing. They are going to review that. They're going to review that rule. That's not going to be a thing next year.
They need to.
Late sliding, and it's obvious to the point that Patrick Mahomes is playing with the defenses when it comes to when he's right at the sideline. It's clear as day. Mm-hmm. He knows that nobody is going to dive at him to tackle him. And so he literally tiptoes the line for about 5 more yards every single time because he knows the rule. That rule is going to change. I guarantee it's going to change, or they're going to be a little bit more. They're like, hey, no, you know what? You keep playing around. Hey, you're a runner at this point in time. Light his ass up. I said what I said. And that will change. It's going to change. Now, here's the thing. Like this guy that you already pointed out, 8 sacks. That's not a recipe for success. CJ Stroud is as good as he can be from time to time, but you combine all those efforts, everything. It wasn't a good look. And they'll work on the offensive line. They'll still be there, but you can't. It's one of those things when you play the Kansas City Chiefs, you're already one step behind when it comes to them anyway. But we're starting to see a Kansas City defense that is elite.
Yeah. They're just better. They're just better right now. They're just a better team.
Their defense has been winning games a lot. And it's under the umbrella of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Their offense, Kansas City still is yet to score more than 30 points in a game. But they're now 16-2. With scoring 30 or less points in every single game. So the offense isn't producing that much. It's just, you got to start giving props to their defense shutting teams down, not giving you those big plays, not giving you free points, and playing pretty much mistake-free ball. You can't make those mistakes. And so with that, Kansas City, yep, they're at this point in time, we're all suffering from their role of success. Are we tired of the Kansas City Chiefs? A little bit, a little fatigued. But hey, they keep winning. They keep finding ways to win. Now, on the topic of turnovers, we move on to, and it was a theme in all of the games, like Scotty was saying. All four games, the losing team had more yardage.
Ain't that something?
All four games, the losing team had more offensive yards than the team that won. So guess what? Guess what happens when that means turnovers were at play? Buffalo against Baltimore. Oh, the city of Baltimore. My heart goes out to you. Everybody wants to put the blame on that last that 2-point conversion that wasn't off of Mark Andrews. You do have to catch that. But there was a turnover in, I believe it was the second quarter, that Lamar Jackson, it was a bad snap to start with. Lamar, he recovered and then proceeded to try to run and did not have a hold of, you could clearly tell that the cold, the ice, the snow affected the ball. And he just didn't have it. He got swung around, fumbled it, and he got recovered, ran. I think he almost ran it almost all the way back, but it was pretty much a foregone conclusion that Josh Allen was going to run the ball in. And that was that's easily a 14-point swing or 10-point swing or whatever you like to put it. And that's how that's where games are lost by 2 points as opposed to being won by 5 or whatever, however it goes or whatever. Turnovers. Eddie Cool, what stood out for you? Like, I want to ask you.
Okay.
Do you put the blame more on Lamar Jackson or Mark Andrews in that game?
Mark Andrews, you got to catch that ball, bro. You got to catch that ball, especially going for that 2-point conversion. You got to catch that ball. You had nobody on you. I understand the elements, but you got to catch that ball. You got to catch it. I mean, he put it right there for him and him only. You got.
Are we talking about Mark Andrews?
Yeah, you got to catch that ball. You got to.
And the thing about this is that Lamar Jackson almost redeemed himself from those earlier turnovers. That would have solidified it. It would have been a tie game, and then who knows what would have happened after that. But once again, we'll never know what the Baltimore Ravens. This was their best season to do it, and they fall short once again. Turnovers. Scotty D, while you stepped away, I mentioned that all 4 games, the winning team had less offensive yards than the losing team, which was piggybacking off of your turnover talk.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson actually he tried to take some of the blame off of Andrews by saying, "Hey, it's on me as much for the turnovers early in the game. Tried to make something happen on the fumble thing, and he said I didn't look the safety away when I threw the interception." And I find fault with Lamar in one other area, and that was the first 2-point conversion attempt where he had a man open and didn't put enough loft on the pass and got batted down. Because otherwise that game would have been tied going into the fourth quarter. Instead, it was 21-19. The pass to Mark Andrews should have been caught. It was a little bit blown behind him, but it should have been caught. That's a pro receiver. Wasn't the best pass, but it was a pro receiver. But I want to make a point. This makes me crazy that coaches do this. Why did Harbaugh feel the need in the third quarter to go for 2 when they scored a touchdown? If they kick the extra point, it's 21-20, and you have a whole quarter, and they haven't shown. Baltimore didn't even punt in this game. They didn't. They showed that they couldn't even be stopped. So you're gonna, if based on what you've done, especially in the second half, when seemingly Baltimore made the adjustments and got Derrick Henry running and got the run game going and opened up the offense, and the Bills went ultra conservative on offense, the game had completely taken a turn. It was no longer 21-10. You would have scored 10 straight points there. And then if the Bills do score a touchdown, you're still only down one possession. If you don't get it, now you're playing catch up with the extra point again. So had they kicked that first extra point, they would have only needed at the end of the game, at the end of regulation, to kick the second to tie that game. They wouldn't have needed that 2-point conversion. I think sometimes coaches are so anxious to get the score tied up or to close a gap that they're losing an opportunity that later on that point would have been much more valuable. You had a whole quarter to go. And like I said, if you're trusting what you're seeing by your offense, you're going to score more. You're going to get on the board more. I don't think you needed that point right there. I think I was right. I'm right, because obviously they could have kicked that extra point rather than going for two. Now, once they get in that position, the play should have made, they should have tied the game up. I honestly was of the opinion that with 1:33 and 2 timeouts, Buffalo had a pretty good chance of going down and kicking a field goal to win that game as time expired anyway. There was still enough time left for a Pro Bowl MVP caliber quarterback like Josh Allen. But to me, it came down to more. I think there were several factors in the Ravens losing that game leading up to that 2-point conversion. And you guys mentioned it already, Lamar's turnovers, and then the fumble that Andrews had uncharacteristically with what it was 9 minutes ago, and them on the move again. Just a lot of things went against the Ravens, and the Bills are the team that's used to having that kind of stuff happen to them. They're usually the ones that miss a field goal to win a Super Bowl or have a miracle lateral play. There's always something against the Bills in the postseason. This one just worked out for them. There you go.
Man, oh man. Turnovers. How about the Rams and the Eagles and the game that Scotty D hated to see because of all the snow? It was sloppy out there. Talk to me.
I didn't completely hate it. I feel like that kind of game, that the snow saps the skills out of the game. And that's why I believe that there should never be an outdoor February Super Bowl, for that very reason. I mean, the Eagles deserve to have that game in their home in their home stadium. And if there snows, it snows. That's all part of it. Mm-hmm. I don't like it because I feel like it takes away some of the skills. They were showing like your receivers can't plant and turn on their routes, and defenders are slipping, trying to keep up with receivers. And it's fun. Yeah, but it's not really the essence of September through December NFL football. I mean, you're just trying to survive. You're trying to adapt instead of playing your game, instead of lining up. If the game was in Los Angeles, I think the Rams would have won that game. I really do. Or in Arizona, wherever they would have played it, if it had been on an indoor field. That's why the home field advantage is so important, because it was good for the Eagles. But the fourth quarter turnovers changed the game. Kyron Williams fumbled in the fourth quarter. Stafford fumbled in the fourth quarter, and it led to two field goals to extend the lead for the Eagles. And then when Barkley broke it open, everyone thought the game was over. Just seemed like it. He's out there sliding in the snow and doing snow angels, and they're celebrating. And Stafford wasn't done yet. So to me, despite all that, the Rams come down, they score, they get the ball back. The biggest play of the game came down to Jalen Carter sacking Stafford on third down, forcing a 4th and 11, because the Rams, they were in a position where they only needed to kick an extra point to win the game because the Eagles had missed 2. Jake Elliott had missed the extra point following the big Barkley run. Barkley had touchdown runs of 62 yards, 78 yards, and Jalen Hurts had a 44-yard touchdown run. If the Rams can contain the run, they win that game easily. Mm-hmm. They would have won that game. Couldn't stop the run.
Defense coordinator for the Rams is having nightmares about
Oh,
Saquon Barkley.
oh, is he?
Because the regular season when it was the same thing. There
Yep.
was a lot of Saquon Barkley.
Yeah,
And
and they
then-
sacked Hurt 7 times, including a safety. They just couldn't stop the run. That was their bugaboo all year.
Ah, man, it is. Well, yeah. Rams again. I believe they should have. They should have won. I think they played better. Like the Eagles just had those big splash plays that just couldn't be stopped. But they're
Yeah, the turnovers and the big runs. That was
Man.
enough to win.
that's what the postseason is, though. Like it's
Yeah, Eagles are good on defense, man. That's a good defensive team.
and that was the one thing really, and we didn't really talk about it too much. And I thought about what you said when it came to taking the skill out of the game and everything like that. But that's what the playoffs is all about. You start to see where
Yeah.
during the regular season, right? You get to see all the glitz and the glamour. You get to see the style and everything like that. And then when you get into a postseason, it's just the nitty gritty. It's just how nasty it's a trenches game. That's why your 14-3 Minnesota Vikings didn't have a chance. The Green Bay Packers didn't have a chance. Your Tampa Bay Buccaneers didn't have a chance. It comes down to who makes the least amount of mistakes. Game slows down. You get sloppiness just because. I mean, it's always going to be cold.
Yeah,
So,
don't get me wrong. I don't hate watching a snow game. I enjoy it. I do like it. I enjoyed it more when it was Pittsburgh, Cleveland in the regular season than it is here in a playoff setting.
right.
It's not that I hate it. I just don't prefer it. I prefer.
No. I get it.
And that's why I want to see the Super Bowl remain either in a warm weather city or indoors, just because I don't want the most important game that's deciding a championship to have weather factored into it. And I know that they had the one Super Bowl in Giant Stadium, and it rained on the Colts and Bears that year. But it could have just as easily been this. It could have been a snowstorm, and the fans are sitting there covered in snow and throwing snowballs, and the players are doing snow. It's just not my preference for postseason.
No.
That's all.
Well, trust and believe, I get exactly what you're saying. At the end of the day, you want to see the two teams and the talent decide the factor,
right?
Not the weather and who's better prepared for the weather.
Right. Exactly. That's a good way to put it. But it was cool to watch. It was fun to watch.
We back in the day, we've gotten one snowstorm my entire childhood, and we was outside playing in the snow, playing football in the snow, and it was fun.
It is fun.
But when you're paying X amount of dollars for it, it's different. It's different. I trust me. I get it. And
I'm sure it was fun for the Eagles.
Yeah, because they won.
If you win a game like that, it's especially fun, but yeah.
All right, fellas.
What's that leave us? We got one game more came to talk about.
Yeah, one more game. The one that I already tipped my hat into. The Washington Commanders. I'm gonna say the Redskins because the Blackfoot Indians want the name to be changed back to honor their heritage. They weren't hurt. I said it again.
Mm-hmm.
But the Commanders, the Redskins, the No Name Football Piglets, all the things, and the Detroit Lions. Man,
what happened? In the words of Beeline.
What happened? Like Jared Goff. What happened? Like. You got your paycheck. You've had a stellar season. Now I'm gonna ask an off the wall question because we didn't really allude to it earlier, but I'm gonna ask this off the wall question. Was Detroit and their coordinators distracted because of all the talk and going to another team? Did they call the best game? Is it because of the players on IR, especially on the defensive side for the Detroit Lions? Like,
I think that was a huge factor in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I personally do. I think when they had 19 guys on IR from the season, most of which were on the defensive side of the ball, and had a player in this game break his arm, one of their defensive players in the first quarter. They had a guy out there trying to guard Terry McLaurin and Jaden Daniels, who hadn't played. It's the first time he's played. That has to factor. I think there were some bad decisions by Detroit coaching wise, and one I alluded to already. We kind of brushed on it. Is down whatever it was 10 points.
Yeah, 10 points.
38-28 maybe it was at that point in time, and Detroit on the move gets to midfield and calls a wide receiver reverse pass, and I don't like that call in that situation. If you're up 10 trying to tack on maybe, but I know Goff didn't have his best game, but I just don't think you have another player other than your starting quarterback throw the ball right there in that situation. It wasn't like Detroit was having a problem moving the ball. They were scoring. They put up a lot of points. I thought that was a bad decision. This game was a lot of bad decisions. Goff made both of his interceptions were bad decisions. Well, he made a late one that I'm not going to hold that against him because he was trying to make something happen with 22 seconds to go. But the first one he tried to get greedy and take a chunk play when he had Laporta wide open for about 8 yards across the middle. And then right before the half, that was a killer because if Detroit gets points on the board there going into the locker room, it changes things. Instead, he tried to force a touchdown. Bad decision there. I thought Ben Johnson's decision on that play was a really bad decision. And I thought Glenn completely not adjusting. I know he had a lot of players injured, but he was just blitz. And Jaden Daniels was picking that apart most of the game. Washington was just too good. Goff turned it over. Daniels didn't turn it over. McLaurin was a factor. 6 different receivers caught balls for Washington. Mm-hmm. So that's good decision-making for Jaden Daniels. Brian Robinson Jr. had 77 yards, 2 touchdowns. Austin Eckler had 47 yards. He had 4 catches for 41. They involved everybody. It was a complete team effort for Washington. And defensively, they rattled Goff's cage enough to force turnovers. So I think the Detroit aggressive mindset has worked against them in the postseason 2 years in a row. That's what gets them there. So it's hard to say they shouldn't be quite so aggressive. But in this case, I thought that they kind of got outcoached and definitely got outplayed by a phenom rookie quarterback. Jaden Daniels looked outstanding again. I mean, you don't see a rookie out there when you're watching this kid play. And he's more than just a running quarterback. He throws a really nice ball. The deep ball he threw, he kind of flung it. He didn't even really step into that one that early in the game that I forget who caught the ball. I think Noah caught the ball, but it was or whoever it was. It was a beautiful pass deep down the field that went out of bounds of the sideline with like on the 5-yard line. Hey, we have a good friend that's been listening to us, Joey Buckets, we call him. It's hard for me as a Cowboy fan to say congratulations to your team for winning this, because this now makes the Cowboys the team with the longest NFC championship drought. So it's a bitter pill for me as well, especially whenever they're playing the Eagles, also another Cowboy rival. And 2 years ago, the coordinators are playing from the Cowboys are playing against each other. There's former Cowboys all over that Washington team. This is a disaster. This is a nightmare.
Yeah. Head coach of the Commanders was a coordinator for the Cowboys. Coordinator for the Eagles was a coordinator for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And defensive players were for the Commanders, former Panthers. So we are seeing all of our former people all in this NFC East championship, because it is what it is.
I don't know why I watch. Sports make me miserable.
You're gonna be
I'm
miserable
never happy.
during the NFC championship.
I'm never happy.
Don't know what to tell you.
You gonna be? Go ahead, be like.
I think it's the first time. I was gonna say this real quick before we head off. This is the first time this year that we've seen Detroit with their backs against the wall, and they did not respond well. I think they've been ahead for the majority of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this was the one time where they had their backs against the wall, and you saw it. They were a little flustered. 5 turnovers are never going to win a game.
No.
And they actually won a game earlier this year with 5 turnovers. Not in the playoffs. You can't do that.
Not against that quarterback.
No, you can do that during the regular season, but like you said, Scotty D, Jaden Daniels out there looking like a poised veteran. I mean,
He did.
If this is a glimpse to come of the future for the Washington football teams, Commanders, Skinny Piglets, ooh, boy, it's going to be tough sledding in the NFC East and Scotty D. I know you are not looking forward to it.
I'm trying not to like that kid, too, and he's making it tough on me. He's a good watch.
Coming up next, we're going to pick our winners for the upcoming week's conference championship games in the AFC and AFC. Stay tuned. Stay. Don't you dare go away. We'll be right back on your favorite sports podcast, none other than the SportsBros Podcast. Turn the heat on.
Please.
In the meantime, in between time, check us out on another platform because we got sports here, sports there, and all that whatnot. But on Wednesday, we just break it down a little bit and we talk about mental health. And we ask everyone to let's check in with the Wellness Check Wednesdays podcast.
Feel free to join us. For more information, just check out our Wellness Check Wednesday page on Facebook. Click the link. And of course, let's check in.
Check in. See you on Wednesday.
Back at you right here again on the SportsBros Podcast. And to continue in the spirit of the NFL playoffs, the Final Four. There are 4 teams remaining, 2 in the American Football Conference and 2 in the National Football Conference. Over in the NFC, we have the Eagles versus the Commanders. In the American Football Conference, we have Bills, Chiefs, Mahomes, Allen. Back at it again. It's starting to round out to be that epic battle, kind of like Brady and Manning. So here it is. We have this generation's iteration of it as well too. While we're there, let's go ahead and park it right there. Put a pin in that one real quick. Who we got in the Bills, Chiefs, why, and who gonna win? Scotty D, I'm gonna start with you.
I'm gonna take the Bills.
Okay.
They're the one team that already knows they can beat the Chiefs, and Josh Allen seems to be playing at a level that he has not participated in before. And actually, this week he didn't even really need to go too deep because they ran the ball so well without him being the primary runner. But boy, it's hard to go to Kansas City and win. It's hard to do that. Nobody really does that. I'm picking Buffalo to do it. Be live.
Oh man, this is tough. This is tough because your heart and your brain are saying 2 different things. We all are experiencing Chiefs and Mahomes fatigue. But there's a reason for that. The Chiefs just find a way to win the big games. And this is once again another time, this 7th straight AFC championship game. That's unheard of. It's only happened once before with the New England Patriots. Went with 8 in a row. Defense wins championship. So we're going to step away from the big names that we want to talk about, the quarterback battle. And I'm putting my trust in the best defense playing right now, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
I think the Chiefs, they're playing shutdown football, and it's going to be in Kansas City. I think this is one of those games where Josh Allen is once again going to try to do too much, and you can get away with it in the regular season. You just can't do it in the postseason. And I think the way that Kansas City's defense is playing, and Patrick Mahomes, they're playing mistake-free football. I'm going with the Chiefs. I don't want
That's such a smart pick because I picked the Saints in the beginning preseason to win the whole thing, and now I'm backpedaling on that pick.
You mean the Chiefs?
Yeah, I had the Chiefs over the Lions in the Super Bowl, and here we are now with the Chiefs with the opportunity for one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time to make history. It's right there to win 3 in a row. If they lose this year, they don't get this opportunity again next year. They get the opportunity to win the Super Bowl again next year, but not 3 in a row again.
3 in a row.
So it's right there for the taking for the Chiefs. But man, they have just toyed with these 1 possession wins all year, except when they played Buffalo and they got the doors blown off them. How about you, Eddie Cool? What do you got?
Let's see. Over in the AFC, I'm going to have to pick the Chiefs, man. The Chiefs, I mean, could it be like you said, we got Chief fatigue and tired of seeing them doing this, doing that? I look at it like this. In the words of the Nature Boy Ric Flair, to beat a man, you got to beat the man. And Josh Allen has to beat the man now in order to be the man and get a shot to go into the Super Bowl. And just imagine how crazy Buffalo would be if they won a doggone Super Bowl. Ooh, boy. Ooh, boy. If they do, boy, I might have to make that trip on over here on 90, take 90 East and just be in the crowd and just go, all right, it's too cold. I'm going back home now. Yeah, it is entirely too cold. And see, that cold, that snow coming off the lake like that, nah, man, I'm good on that. Let's see. Over in the NFC, Saquon Barkley is running wild like Hulkamania back in '85. And I think the Commanders are going to have their handful. So in the Super Bowl, I'm going to say it's going to be the Eagles versus the Chiefs.
Ugh. Ugh.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
But we're trying to be analysts, we're trying to be fanalists. The fan in me is NFC. Oh, I don't want to do this because my heart. I would love for the Redskins, the Commanders, to just because my mom, sports mama, she is a Redskins fan. I'm telling you, I would love for this to happen for her. But I'm a walking cliche today. Defense wins championships. This time it's games are won in the trenches. And there is not a better offensive line in the game than the Philadelphia Eagles right now. And Saquon Barkley is playing lights out. I just don't think that the Commanders' defensive line, their defense has shown the ability to effectively stop teams. The Commanders can score a lot of points, but I feel like a game like this in Philly, which is not that far from DC, the weather is that's not going to be a factor, but the crowd, rookie quarterback, it's just, I know he's been playing like mistake-free football, and it's a beautiful thing to see. But I just think that it's going to be a game one in the trenches, and that's Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley's wheelhouse. And I pick the Eagles against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. As much as I want Washington to be there, Eagles, Chiefs.
Yeah, that's you make a great case there. Jahmyr Gibbs ran for a lot of yards against he went over 100 yards against Washington.
And just imagine having to stop that because did Saquon Barkley run for 200?
205, yeah.
And Jalen Hurts ran for 70.
Right, and that's going to be a big issue this week because he's hurt. Jalen Hurts' mobility is a big issue. The Eagles. So if Washington can sell out and force the Eagles into second long, third and long, and have to beat them with an immobile quarterback, I think maybe Washington can win can score enough to beat the Eagles on the road. And Jayden Daniels doesn't seem to know anything about pressure. He's just kind of going along with whatever's happening. He's a likable kid. This is so hard because I would really like to see these teams go into about 12 overtimes and then them just say, well, you know what? We're not going to play anymore. We're just going to make the Bills Chiefs game the Super Bowl because these guys nobody can win this game. So based on the fact that is an impossibility, I'm going to say Washington's going to pull this upset and be Washington Bills.
Going against the grain, the game that the world wants to see. Like it's like the Chiefs and the Eagles are the heels,
The
and
rematch. Yeah.
Yeah.
and the Bills and the Commanders are the face.
The baby faces. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I don't know how well how bad that injury was for Jalen Hurts, but
that's going to be a factor.
it is going to be a factor. You know, usually the injuries tighten up and feel worse the next day, but his wasn't feeling good enough for him to run around at all on Sunday. So I don't know. I know he'll play. I know I know he's going to be out there, but if you take the running away from him, what kind of quarterback are you getting? And so I think Washington might be able just to make enough plays to win that game. So that's why I'm going with them.
Washington is short a O lineman.
Ooh,
So
yeah.
the Eagles be able to put that. And Eagles love to draw up the blitz. They're gonna try to put pressure on Jay Daniels, and Jay Daniels is like, whatever. But
Yeah.
it may be too much. We shall see. I guarantee you this AFC and NFC championship is going to be highly watched. This is going. But the NFL is very happy right now.
very much so.
It'd have been better if the Lions would have been in, it would have been just like, holy crap. Because the Lions are America's team. Sorry, Scotty.
Oh,
Yeah.
As much as everybody tries to take that moniker, somebody new comes along every 3 years. A couple years ago, it was the Patriots. A couple years before that, it was the Steelers. You can't take a nickname off somebody.
Yes, we absolutely can.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
As long as Jerry Jones is the owner of the Cowboys, we absolutely can, because nobody likes him.
All right, and with that being said,
no argument there.
Yep, the Super Bowl will be played February the 9th on a Sunday. I repeat, February the 9th on a Sunday, which means if you haven't requested that day off from work by now, you're probably going to be at work. You'll probably be bored. You'll probably be watching the Super Bowl, because when that
I done requested the 10th off. What you talking about?
Hey, I already got the 10th off because it's a Monday. Because normally the first thing I request when it becomes New Year, when's the Super Bowl? Yeah, because I worked the Super Bowl twice before, and it wasn't fun. I don't know what my managers was thinking. Like, oh, do I not look like I like football? Like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And the manager that scheduled me that year, her Eagles lost to the Patriots. So nanny, boo boo. Looking at my cell phone because I've yet to get a watch. Guess what time it is?
What time is it? What's happening? What's going on?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. It's time for this snow to go somewhere, but really, it's time for our favorite portion of the show, the Choice of the Voices. With that being said, hey, yo, Button, hit it. Choice of the Voices coming at you right here on the SportsBros Podcast.
And now, our favorite part of the show, the Choices of the Voices.
Once again, thank you to the wonderful and
ever so lovely Miss Button
for introducing our favorite portion of the show, the Choices of the Voices, where we ask you a question, y'all give us the answer, and we talk about it right here on the Sports Bros Podcast. With that being said, Scotty D, what's on tap for this week's Choices of the Voices?
Well, we were thinking back to really, really good teams, such as the current Detroit Lions, who really were like a good, dominant football team.
Mm-hmm.
Super Bowl expectations and come up short. They just couldn't get there. Let's think back on some of those teams. That's what I was asking for already. Cool. And we had some good answers here from the people.
Yep, we got some good answers. Sometimes when it comes to the volume of answers, only thing you need is a few. Sometimes you don't need a whole lot. Sometimes you get a whole lot. With that being said, Sean Connors, he says, I think the 07 Patriots is the most obvious answer. Yeah, you got a case for that.
Undefeated.
Yep.
Undefeated until running into Eli Manning.
Yep. And then he said, followed closely by the 2024 Jets. Come on, man, get out of here.
He's a Jets fan, a long-suffering Jets fan.
Well, hopefully you get Rex Ryan now or Aaron Glenn.
I don't think Rex Ryan's happening.
No, you don't think so?
No, I think that's cooled off.
Okay. All right. We got Jeffrey Scott Dean. He says the Vikings that year, Gary Anderson was perfect all year to miss the game winner in the playoffs. I remember that. That's when they played the Falcons.
This is one of the big standout ones to me because that year we were looking all year at a clash between the Broncos and Vikings. Randall Cunningham was so good for that Vikings team. That was like his rebirth of his career. Remember, he was good with the Eagles. Didn't he like take time off to go stock groceries or manage a hardware store or something like that? And then came back and he was like this unstoppable passing machine, throwing around the Moss and Chris Carter and Robert Smith out of the backfield. And all they need is Gary Anderson, who doesn't miss, is to make a field goal on turf inside, and he misses. Falcons tie the game, win in overtime, and it's Falcons going on to get destroyed by the Broncos in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and that was right before Dante Culpepper got there. Oh boy, just imagine that.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. The best name in the game, JoJo Comfort says the run and shoot Oilers of the mid to late 80s were offensively dominant, but I give the nod to the Browns teams of that same era. They had strong defense, steady play at quarterback, and a two-headed monster of a running game with Mack and Bynum. Yep. The Browns were something in the 80s, and so were the Oilers.
And the Browns didn't just lose those championship games. They lost them in the most heartbreaking way possible. They went from the drive to the fumble. Then they took a year off and they went back and they just didn't have enough in that third. 3 times in 4 years they played in the championship against Denver and lost them all.
Heartbreaking.
But
boy.
hey, a good call with their run and shoot Oilers. They just that run and shoot wasn't sustainable, I don't think. But Warren Moon was out of his mind good at that time of his career.
Oh boy, was he ever? Just coming back from Canada after winning a bunch of Grey Cups.
Yeah, he was really good. He was really, really good.
Yeah. A lot of people don't talk about Warren Moon, man. A lot of people remember Warren Moon from his Minnesota days, but he was also good as an Oilers quarterback as well too. Yeah,
well, and they blew the 35-3 lead against Buffalo in the playoff game. I mean,
that too.
They win that game, and Warren Moon could have been on his way to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Too bad, man. Warren Moon was a good one, man. He should have won one. Matty Ice Martin Tracy says, my him is a guy named Sean that likes to sleep at the bar and has a grumpy dad their team. He must be talking about the Buffalo Bills. I knew it.
Yeah.
Poor Sean. I thought about him the other day.
We had a guy named Sleepy Sean that worked that came to overtime every day, who was a huge Buffalo fan and was at the game this past Sunday. So congrats to him on that.
Yeah, I remember Sean. Quit picking at Sean, man. Quit picking that. Oh, for real. I thought about him like about 2 days ago. I was like, I wonder what Sleepy Sean doing. Every time I see the Bills, I think about him. Shout out to Sean Connors, Jeffrey Dean Scott, JoJo Comfort, and Matty Ice for their participation in this week's Choices of the Voices. Be live. Teams that should have won it, but they didn't. Who you got?
Oh, man. Where do I start? I'm not going to do the Homer thing. I'm not going to pick the 1996 Carolina Panthers that lost to the Green Bay Packers in the NFC Championship game. I'm not going to pick the 2003 Carolina Panthers that lost to the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. I'm not going to pick the 2015 Carolina Panthers that lost in the Super Bowl to the Denver Broncos because those are all obvious. They're not really obvious. That 15-1 Carolina Panthers team in 2015.
Yeah, that was
up there.
That was up there. Yeah,
that's really up there. But I'm not going to be a homer. That 15-1 Minnesota Vikings team. Chris Carter, Randy Moss, Randall Cunningham, yeah. But the one that hits closer to home, because I want him to get over the hump, because he should win MVP for the third time this year. But his first time winning MVP in 2019, the Baltimore Ravens went 14-2, had 13 Pro Bowlers. Lamar Jackson rushed for 1,200 yards, passed for 36 touchdowns. Baltimore had a single season record, 3,296 rushing yards. This team had all the elements. Win in the trenches, defense playing stout, and then they lose 28-12 to the Titans. And that began the Lamar Jackson cannot perform in the playoffs. And I feel like that is a dark cloud that continues to sit over his head and remains to this day 6 years later. It's I don't know how, when, or who this was. I thought in adding Derrick Henry to the mix, this was the time to do it. Now it just adds to the legacy or lack thereof of Lamar Jackson being the best regular season dual threat quarterback to have ever existed. I put in dual threat because people can't just say he's a great quarterback, which he has done.
Mm-hmm.
41 passing touchdowns, 4 interceptions this year. Arguably his best statistical regular season this year. Once again, that dark cloud hangs over his head. 2019 to 2025, it started in 2019. And it still goes on. What say you guys?
You gonna be all right, B-Live? You gonna be all right?
It just, there's certain players, even though I dislike Lamar Jackson in college because I feel like Deshaun Watson should have won that Heisman.
Yeah.
You gotta respect game, and the dude has game and spades. He just, when it comes to January, he just ain't doing right for him.
Mm.
And it's just, golly.
I understand.
And Eddie, I think I sent it to both you and JR in our group chat as a sort of another reason why I have a like sort of an affinity for Lamar Jackson.
I gotta go back and look at it. You know how I am with group chats. I gotta go sit through it. I gotta go back and look at it. Did you say it's my turn, B-Live? Did you say it's my turn? My turn.
I think so.
Go ahead.
The 2006 San Diego Chargers.
Ooh. Was that LaDainian Tomlinson?
Yes, that's when they had Marty Schottenheimer. They improved from 9-7 the year before, and they were the number one seed ending the season at 14-2 with the best record in the NFL in 2016. However, they would lose for the second time in the past 3 seasons in the final minutes to the New England Patriots, 24-21. And it is often noted that people say the 2006 Chargers are widely considered to be one of the greatest teams not to make the Super Bowl. They had on offense, they have Phillip Rivers at quarterback, running back LaDainian Tomlinson, wide receivers, the late Vincent Jackson, Isaiah Raheem, and Keenan McCardell. Antonio Gates was also a part of this team as well, too. Now, defense, they got a rookie, Antonio Cromartie. They had Drayton Florence, and they had Quentin Jammer, right? Also, Terrence Keel and Marlon McCree.
Jammer.
Yeah, the Jammer man. So, and linebackers, they had Donnie Edwards, who has Randall Godfrey, lights out Sean Merriman, and Sean Phillips as well, too. So,
Sayal had been on that team, right?
Was he? I'm looking right now, and no, I think Sayal, that might have been when he went to Miami. Because you remember he left San Diego, went to Miami, and then went to the Patriots.
Yeah. I forgot about him going to Miami.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Hey, that's a good call. That was a really good team. I hadn't thought about that one.
Yeah, so they did good. They pretty much just they beat everybody. They only lost twice, and they did all this without signing Drew Brees, who went on to play for the Saints. So the 2006 San Diego Chargers could have won it all, but they didn't. Over to you, Scotty D.
One in recent memory, 2018 Saints went 13-3. They had the controversial ending in the loss to the Rams with a no interference call on the sideline. The Rams would go on, but that team was 13-3. Speaking of Vikings, that Vikings team is one that stands out to me the most, when we talked about. But there was another instance for the Vikings in 2009. The regular season team wasn't as dominant, but this was whenever Brett Favre joined the Vikings, and he was throwing the ball to Sidney Rice, Percy Harvin, and Bernard Berrien. I'd forgotten all about Bernard Berrien. They had AP in the backfield, and with 30 seconds to go in the championship game against the Saints, Favre throws the ball across the middle of the field for some reason, and Tracy Porter intercepts it. They go to overtime. The Saints win and go on to the Super Bowl. That was actually the beginning of the the Bounty Gate
Yes.
issue that plagued Sean Payton. Here's a team that often gets overlooked and forgotten, but the 1999 Jacksonville Jaguars were 14-2. They lost 2 regular season games, both to the Tennessee Titans, went on to the playoffs and destroyed Miami so bad they beat them 62-7 in the playoffs that Jimmy Johnson and Dan Marino both left and never came back.
I forgot about that one.
They had Jimmy Smith and Keenan McCardell, James Stewart and Fred Taylor in the backfield,
Ooh.
Kyle Brady at tight end. This team was stacked. I think they had the number 1 defense that year, but they couldn't get past Tennessee and lost 33-14 to the Titans in the championship game. So that's a team you don't think about great dominant teams from the Jaguars, but that team was really, really good. So missed opportunity there. They just could not get past Steve Air McNair.
Tennessee Titans over here, just world beaters.
Right? Just ruining lives for people.
Right.
Yeah, see them in the playoffs. Oh, God, we got to play these jokes again. All right, and so that does it for this edition of the Choices of the Voices. Scotty D, what we got on tap for next week?
Oh, boy, you guys are going to love this one because it's been all over TV, all over the internet. Who do you think should be and who do you think will be the next head football coach for America's team, the Dallas Cowboys? I knew you would love this one, Be Live. Who should be and who will be the Dallas Cowboys next head coach? And that will give us plenty to talk about.
I'm gonna let you know ahead. I'm gonna let you know ahead of time. I'm boycotting. I'm not answering it.
Okay.
I refuse.
Okay. That's good.
I'm gonna fill in airtime.
That'll cut our show by about 40 minutes if you decide not to participate.
Wow, you got jokes. Be Live, grab that pepper grinder because coming right up, Choices of the Voices right here. I'm sorry. Coming up is Around the Pepper right here on the SportsBros Podcast.
Get the grinder out for Choices of the Voices.
Yeah, get something. I'm tired. That's how you know I'm tired.
Okay, boys, let's bring it home with a round of pepper.
All right, you heard one. It's time for us to go home and get what I call the hell up out of here. But before we go, you know how we do it. A round of pepper. 3 topics, rapid fire style, kind of, sort of, not really, here to engage, enlighten, educate, and entertain. The 4 E's in no particular order. With that being said, I'll go first. On this day in history, back in 1992, Bill Cowher becomes the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, becoming only the 2nd head coach of the team since 1970. And before that was Chuck Noll. So you got to think, since we've been alive, since me and B-Live's been alive, we've only known what? Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin. Saturday, since you've been alive, you've known Chuck Noll, Mike Tomlin, and Bill Cowher. Ain't that something? Over to you, Scotty D.
I'm going to give you a tip here. Do yourself a favor. Go Google John Morant dunking on Victor Wembanyama. Google that. Watch it. You're welcome. Be Live, over to you.
John Morant didn't even touch the rim. All right, cool.
It was so good. Didn't have it was incredible. And it didn't count.
It didn't even count, but darn.
But go watch it. Treat yourself to that.
Yeah.
John Morant said he's going to stop dunking on people. Lies.
Yeah, okay.
The lies he tell.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, my first pepper point. Shame on you, Sun Belt Conference. A shame. Oh, we talked about this at the time where Marshall's coach, Charles Huff, former coach, left and took a job at Southern Miss.
Mm-hmm.
And in turn, 36 of his players entered the transfer portal, leaving the team pretty much depleted. And by the stats, they were down to 41 players. That's barely offense, defense, special teams. That's you struggling. Well, in the midst of the fact that Marshall withdrew from their bowl game, the Independence Bowl, the Sun Belt Conference decided, you know what? We're going to try to recoup some of our losses and fine the university $100,000, like it was Marshall's fault for not having enough players to play the game, and basically resigning from the game. The Sun Belt Conference fined him $100,000. Sun Belt Conference, come on, bro. This is the landscape that we live in. The transfer portal is exactly what it is, and you're gonna, you know what? Wow, transfer portal, change something. Sun Belt Conference, do better. Eddie Cool, the ball.
All right, and with that being said, on this day in history back in 2010, the late, great Kobe Bean Bryant becomes the youngest player to reach 25,000 career points at 31 years old, 151 days, and he beats Wilt Chamberlain by 35 days. We miss you, Kobe. Over to you, Scotty D.
Oh, yes, we do. Here's one from the I don't like this news report from me, and that is the fact that Live Golf has signed a deal with Fox.
Let's go!
Fox is going to air Fox FS1 and FS2. They're going to air Live Golf tournaments. And I'm not the only one who doesn't like it. Brandel Chambly says the money comes from the sewer and the product stinks worse than the source. I agree. I'm sticking with the PGA. B-Live, over to you.
Go! Live Golf, let's get it, baby.
Yeah, let's go. Live Golf.
Oh, okay, let me change my face real quick because here we go. My second pepper point. I'm going back to the transfer portal, or the lack thereof, and the new age of college sports. Former Wisconsin defensive back Xavier Lucas is not transferring to Miami. He just flat out left. He left Wisconsin because Wisconsin would not honor his transfer portal request. It is actually in the rule book that the school has to put the player into the transfer portal. The player can't just enter the transfer portal themselves. The school has to place them in there after the player requests to go to the transfer portal, which is 99% happens that way. Okay, you want to go to the other team, whatever, have at it. Wisconsin said, no, brother, you signed a contract. You signed a revenue sharing contract. Therefore, your ass belongs to us. And we're not putting you in the transfer portal. So what does he do? Xavier Lucas says, you know what? I'm just going to leave school. And I'm going to enroll into Miami. And Miami immediately picks him up, places him on a football program, and is actually the NCAA cannot do anything about it because there's nothing in the rule books that stops a player from doing so. Transfer portal, nobody could easily be a precedent-setting move to blow up the transfer portal. Eddie Cool, the ball.
All right, and before we get out of here, on this day in history back in 2004, how things have changed. Dan Campbell's Detroit Lions secure a divisional playoff win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yeah, it didn't go quite as planned for the Lions this year, but they'll be around. And this ain't the last we've seen of the Dan Campbell Lions. The kneecap biters. Remember we made a joke out of it a while back?
It was a joke.
It was a joke, but Detroit ain't. Over to you, Scotty D.
All right, so last week on January 16th, 10 days short of his 91st birthday, Mr. Baseball Bob Uecker passed away.
Oh.
He was still working. He was still the voice of the Brewers after all these years. The dude only played 5 years of Major League Baseball and hit 200, but yet made himself famous with his humor, self-deprecating humor, and went on to do those Miller Lite commercials I watched when I was a kid where he said, I must be in the front row, and they moved him up to the top of the stadium because he had the wrong ticket. And then as if that line wasn't famous enough, he does Major League, the movie Major League, and his line, just a bit outside, is something you hear people say all the time when they're watching baseball. Yep. It's like part of baseball now to use that line. So this is a dude who really, he loved baseball so much, wasn't good at it, didn't stop him from becoming just part of the essence of Major League Baseball. Man, we lost some good announcers in the last few years, and this guy was almost 91 years old. By the way, do you guys know who gave him the nickname Mr. Baseball?
Who?
Johnny Carson. He used to go on the Tonight Show and do all this give all these hilarious stories, and Johnny Carson loved him and gave him the nickname Mr. Baseball. Bob Uecker, almost 91 years old. Be Live, take us home.
Just a bit outside.
Just a bit outside of 91 years old. Oh, Eddie Cool. Yep, let me make it happen. Last Monday, the Golden State Warriors faced the Toronto Raptors in Toronto. Buddy Hield went 3 of 13 from the field, 2 of 10 from the three-point line for only 8 points. The Golden State Warriors lose 104-101 to Toronto, to the point where they left Buddy Hield in Toronto. The bus pulled off, and Buddy Hield was not on it. It was an accident, but they were trying to leave his ass in Toronto. Terrible. Golden State, do better. Buddy Hield, sorry for you. Shoot better. Yes, sir.
He's like the Be Live of the Warriors.
Wow. And then closing, do something nice for yourself. And if you can, do something nice for someone else. They're greatly appreciated now more than ever. And as always, thanks for listening and watching to your favorite sports podcast, the Sports Bros Podcast. Take us home, Be Live.
Yes, sir.
Hey, it's Eddie Cool here from the Sports Bros Podcast. Thank you for listening. And as always, continue to follow us on all of our social media platforms. Just click the link in the description box and keep up with the Sports Bros Podcast. And once again, thanks for listening.